Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WDW Fan Zone Show, our final show of the year, and our episode on this platform, number 400. Now, we've done a lot more than 400 episodes, but on this platform, since we moved over to TalkShoe, this is number 400. And I'm joined tonight by Lottie Ferguson. Lottie, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a while. I know you've been busy.
Good to be back. Been working too hard.
Yeah, I know. Always working too hard. We need to get Lottie to work not so hard. And John Maloney is with us tonight. Hey, John, how are you?
Doing well.
Good, good. That's right. The clock is ticking.
That was my hour hand, yes.
Yeah, as we head towards the end of 22 and into 23. And we're going to talk a lot about our Disney year 2022. And we'll discuss what we're looking forward to and what we're anticipating for 2023 as well. I do want to mention Mouse Fan Travel, which is our preferred travel planner. So, if you're looking to take a Disney trip, whether it's Disney World, Disneyland, if you want to go on a Disney cruise, if you want to go on an adventure by Disney, if you want to go see a Disney show, whether it's, maybe it's do they still do the Disney Escapades? I don't even know. I'm so out of the loop with that. But, Disney does things outside of the parks all over the country. So if it's something you want to catch somewhere, if there's a non-Disney vacation you want to go on, the only place I would ever recommend, because I've tried so many different travel planners and agents, and the rest of them compared to Mouse Fan Travel, quite frankly, are not too good. Mouse Fan Travel is just so superior to everybody. They take everything into account when you're planning a trip with them, from your budget to who's in your group. They get to know you and what you need and what your group's needs are if you're going with a group, whether it's family or friends. And they plan the trip the way you want to go and how you want to go. And any questions you have, they've got the answers. And you know why? Because they're absolutely the best at customer service, they're best at planning, and they're best at helping out and giving assistance to all their clients. So to find out more information about Mouse Fan Travel and all their wonderful travel deals they've got going on right now, there's only one place to go, and that's www.mousefantravel.com. That's www.mousefantravel.com. Right. On an aside note, I've decided to put out some NFTs for $99.
Oh.
I'm kidding. I don't know. I just couldn't resist throwing that in there. I mean, if that wasn't one of the biggest jokes I've seen lately, it gave me a good laugh.
There you go.
Yeah. So this year started out with the parks getting more and more crowded and more crowded and more crowded as the year went on. But when we got towards the end of this year, we had a great surprise on a Sunday night when Bob Iger returned as the Disney CEO. And that was wonderful news. And I'm glad he's back. And we've seen some changes already, not major ones, but he's made a few changes. And you can tell by going to the parks, the morale of the cast members is much higher than it was prior to him returning. So that's good news too. But that's just one of the things that happened this year. All of us have been I live down here now, so I go to the parks periodically. Not every week, almost every week, but not every week. I'm blocked out now. I'm okay with that. It's crowded there now. But are there any things that you'd like to discuss from your 2022 Disney year? Lottie.
Cosmic Rewind. That has replaced Soarin' as my favorite attraction at the parks. I wish there was a way that I could ride it more than once. I would ride repeatedly all day long. I love it that much.
Yeah. So
yeah, Stuart and I each have we've each ridden it the same number of times, right, Stuart?
Yeah, 0.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't go on it because my motion sickness. I've been warned by too many people to stay away.
Well, we both have the same number of rides in our future anyway.
Oh no, John, you didn't like it?
It's not that I didn't like it, but it didn't like me. Well, neither of you have been to Paris, so there's an attraction in Paris, Disneyland Paris, at the studios park there, Crush's Coaster. And Crush's Coaster it's not as, high speed, but it had the same kind of motion for the car where the car would turn to the left and turn to the right to direct your attention to things.
Hmm.
And I had been on that years ago, and it made me a bit nauseous. And then if you combine that with the speed of Space Mountain, it's much worse. So
Hmm.
I tried it, and I was having so much fun for the first minute, and then it started to become terror for the next 2 minutes, and unfortunately, I can't go on it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't even attempt it. I'm waiting till they get away from the virtual queue where it's a standby line, and then I'll go in there and then I'll use the chicken exit to get out of there. But so I might do that, so at least I can see the queue for it.
So,
But I'm not. I'm sorry.
oh, I was gonna jump in on the queue comment because that's one of the things that makes me so happy about that ride is that not only is the queue and the pre-show fantastic, but I get a tiny little bit of Flint in there because Terry Crews is featured as one of the actors helping you along through your journey. So that I got a little bit of Flint, I got a lot of Coaster, and great soundtrack. I'm telling you, I could ride all day.
Mm.
Yeah. I wish I could ride once, but I'm just terrified because of my motion sickness. I remember going on Everest, the one and only time I've ever been on Everest. As soon as it started to go backwards, that was it for me. I was done.
Yeah.
Rock and Roller Coaster, I was tricked into going on that, and I nearly lost my lunch.
Yeah, I can do those. I can do Mission Space. I can do the what is
Really?
the is it orange or green?
Orange.
Orange. I can do Mission Space Orange. I can do Expedition Everest. I can do Space Mountain. I can do most of the other. I can't do Tower of Terror. That's the other
Tower
one.
of Terror I can do, but for me, it's just always like one or two too many drops. I'm good with 2 drops. I'm okay with 3, but when you get to 4, 5, and 6, it's like, okay, enough. I'm good. Flights of Passage, I'm good on that.
Yeah, I'm good on that too.
I'm trying to think. Star Tours, I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, yeah, I've
Ratatouille,
never had trouble with the simulator attractions. No.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Ratatouille either, and I know some people who have, but it's just certain things, and I've been warned by people who know me, not the missus, but other people who know me, and they've all said, "Don't do it."
Just it's something about when September's playing and you're whipping around and the wind is going through your hair and the music is playing. I'm telling you, I know motion sickness, but I'll take one for the team anytime. Anytime you need me to ride for you, I am there.
And you may have to at some point in time. Like I said, I do want to try the queue and then take the chicken exit, but we'll see. I haven't even watched any of the videos for it. I really should because I'm never going to go on.
Well, yeah, that way you get to experience some of it anyway.
Yeah. John, what's your most memorable moment from 2022 Disney?
Most memorable? Oh boy, what? Actually, the thing that occurred to me that I wanted to start with is not something that necessarily made me excited, but it just kind of stood out to me, and that is that the 50th anniversary celebration fizzled. I was so excited for the 50th anniversary. I was thinking, and I had been, I think it was Disneyland's 60th. I had been there for Disneyland's 60th, and it was a big idea. And I was there for the 25th for Magic Kingdom with the pink birthday cake, and those were also exciting to me. I always loved those celebrations, but when I went down as part of the 50th twice, I just found nothing to really get me going or get me excited about what should have, been one of their biggest anniversaries of Magic Kingdom.
Where do you think Disney went wrong with the 50th? I mean, I've got a few opinions on that, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I certainly think that the pandemic had an impact on
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
It's that soured it from the get-go. But things like, I think, extra experiences, the merchandise that they had for sale,
Mhm.
there was just so many things that I found lacking, and I think a lot of it stemmed from the pandemic.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah, Lottie, what about you? Do you think it suffered because of that or any other reason?
Well, I think if okay, so I got down there. I was there in June. I was there in November, and then I was there lot at the end of 21. When did this start?
It was October of 21, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I got down there 3 times during the 50th, and, uh, it was very, very much merchandise heavy, um,
Mhm.
and, while I bought my fair share of 50th merch, I really was looking for some more, unique experiences,
Yeah.
uh, something to remember the celebration by rather than just the Alex and Annie bracelets and the jogging suits I bought. But like you mentioned the 25th anniversary and the pink birthday cake castle. It was terrible, but I will never forget that.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I think Kurt's not here, but if I recall correctly, I think he was a fan of the birthday cake castle.
I was a fan.
I
It
did
Yeah.
was it
not
was
like.
but I could be a fan because I was able to, it was not the first time I had been to the Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World, and I knew I'd be coming back. So to me, it was something fun and different. If it was my only trip to Walt Disney World, that would be very different. But
Yeah.
It was my first. That
oh
was my
Oh,
wow,
wow.
first, in-person viewing of the castle, and I was so
Wow.
disappointed.
well, so
I
that
didn't
could make a big difference. I agree.
I didn't mind it, but I didn't love it. So, um, for me, I think the first note that I recall of the 50th was when then CEO Bob Chapek didn't do a live
Mm,
presentation in front
Exactly.
of the crowd there.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
was just like, come on, you're the CEO. Get in front of the people. If they're going to boo you, take the boos and turn those boos into cheers. And it just didn't
he
happen.
he just didn't have the charisma to pull that
No.
off. I
No.
mean, there wasn't anything that he was gonna be able to do in front of a live crowd that did not get him booed.
Yeah, but you know what? You can turn boos into cheers, and he should have been able to accept the challenge and overcome the challenge. He was the
Yeah.
CEO,
Yeah, but
and
he's shown that is not his forte, and that's
no, it's
part of
not,
the reason
or
he was
wasn't.
in the trouble he is, and
Yeah, well, I don't want to. This is not a Bob Chapek
yeah.
show to or criticism show, so I don't want to go further with that. But that was the first thing, and there was something else. For the 25th anniversary, they honored some families that they put up in one of the resorts. They did a whole show. I think it was Inside Out on Disney.
Right, but
For the
that's to Lottie's point, they didn't have those
Mhm.
extras
Right.
that just made it feel like a celebration, like Year of a Million Dreams was so exciting.
Well, where I was going with that was they should have brought those families back from the 25th for the 50th and see where are those families
Right,
now.
but something along those veins that is recurring and gets you interested and ramps up the excitement level. There was
Yeah.
nothing that they did to me that ramped up the excitement level. I do like that we got the look to the castle because I think it is
Mhm.
uh, it it's different and it's classic, but it you get used to it very quickly. It's not something that is gonna hold you over for the entire 18 months of the celebration.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think they could have done something else, even if at night they could have transformed it, and not during the fireworks show, but outside of the fireworks show, just transformed it into something else. So you see a difference between the day and night. But what I think they could have done also, they could have, how they do the Christmas show every year? They should have done a 50th anniversary extravaganza special
Mm.
before the 50th anniversary actually started. And I know they did something, but it was just like, okay, we have to do this. We're going to do it. They should have done something that just like went way over the top, get people excited. But like you guys said, have like, okay, you're doing this special. Here's what we're going to tell you. You come to the parks and we've got this special event going on, that special event going on. And it's not something they had to put a lot of money into. That could have just gone that extra step. And, did they really need it though? When you look at the crowds that we had, people came anyway.
Well, so Disney's Christmas special this year had other reasons to leave me disappointed. Very personally.
So they cut out the cruise part, didn't they?
No, they cut out the cruise part where I was directly behind the performer, where I
Thank
was in
God.
plain view, where I was in plain view of the performer. The hour that I spent filming that segment was completely on the cutting room floor. And the part where you couldn't see me because I was behind somebody else's head, that was in the shot for a few seconds. And then the segment that we had no idea they were even filming lasted the entire segment of the performing the song that the performer did.
Well, you know what? Those
But
edit room cuts, they can't include everything. But yeah, I think they could have done something a little special. They could have had overlays on some of the attractions.
Yeah,
It
sure.
might not have been representative of the 50th directly, but it could have had references to it and history of Disney through the years.
Yeah, some other program. There's a good one right there, Stuart. If they had something that tied into the history and brought it out, some kind of embellishment, and that would have been there for the entire 18 months of the celebration. It would have enhanced the experience. That
Absolutely.
what they had to me did not enhance the experience.
I agree with you. I think COVID played a large part in why they didn't do certain things, but I don't understand why when we started to come out of COVID, they didn't add some things in rather than just bring things back. Bringing things back, we all wanted that and we all expected and hoped for, but they could have enhanced them a little bit too.
They had 18 months.
Yeah, they did.
Well, but you know what? When Disney has had these anniversary celebrations in the past, Disney has always used them as a way to entice people to come. There was no need for that this past year.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we've gotten into a pattern now of high crowds, and there's just not that need for Disney to incent people to come down so much.
Yeah, I do
agree.
completely agree with that. It's just when you know the people are coming, why make that extra? Why go to that expensive extra step to get people excited about when they're already coming? But on the other hand, you've got your diehard fans like us that are going to complain about it.
Well, and they understand that. They know it's going to happen anyway. I really, as we talk about it, I think that played as big a role as the pandemic did in why we got what we got.
Well, I think the crowds were there because of the pandemic too.
Sure.
People were sitting at home for such a long period of time, saving their money, whether it was their salaries or what did you call that money that the pandemic
Stimulus.
Yeah. Yep. And saving it up and going and taking that one trip that they otherwise could not afford and go to Disney.
Yeah.
And they're pushing the VIP tours too. And you see plenty of that. I see more of them going around in the parks now than I ever did in the past. So there are special things you can do, but you have to be able to afford it. But, we saw the implementation of Genie Plus. come in during the 50th. That played a
Well,
major part in transforming how we tour the parks.
Hmm.
it didn't start last year, but it
No.
really expanded and it went through a bunch of changes, including
Mhm.
price increases.
Yeah, and it's still doing that.
Yeah.
I've not used it yet.
Mm,
I didn't use it at all.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never used it.
Well, it's tough when you have a family of 5, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to go into what I think about Genie Plus in this show. I don't think that's what the show is for. But it definitely created a different experience for people, whether it was your first time going or whether it's your 100th time in the parks. And some good, some not so good. But it's the reality is this is where Disney is right now, and you've got to make the best of it, however
It's
you can. However you can.
I think people are much more aware that Genie Plus exists at Walt Disney World than they're aware that it was Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary.
Yeah, I agree, and that's and that is a problem. And I say that's a problem because you're selling all this merchandise for the 50th. Some of it was wonderful, the merchandise, but give me a reason to want to buy that merchandise and make it memorable for me so I can associate it with an experience I had in a park on a particular visit or trip. And I think it got lost somewhere. But I think part of it is social media too. People who had these trips planned, they're listening and watching all these videos on social media, and it could have had an adverse effect for some people before they even got to the parks. Their perception of what their trip was going to be could have changed, and not always in a positive way. But I don't know. Living down here, it's a different experience for me down here. Um, because I go to the parks, I'm not going there all day per se. I'm going there for a couple of hours here, a couple hours there. And if I get to do something, great. If I don't, I know I'm coming back another time.
Right.
But I think for people visiting from other states, you want to make the most of the trip while you're here. And they really didn't give them an incentive with a 50th to, it's like being in the parks was special enough. It's like the 50th didn't add or take away from it. Hope I made that point clear. I'm not sure. I don't know. I get lost sometimes.
You know, I think that's a very valid point. All three of our kids were there for the 50th, and I don't recall them talking about any of that at all.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen not so much a parade, but something that, maybe for the first few months of the 50th, you have some kind of special show or entertainment that is going to go away and then get replaced by something else, maybe in another park for the 50th, and just keep it going. But I know it's difficult. They're having staffing issues too. They're getting people, qualified people to work and continue to work for them. So that's tough also. But everybody is, because of the pandemic. I don't understand people. Like, don't people need to work? How is it that there were so many shortages in so many places where people just aren't willing to take jobs?
It's changing. It's definitely improving, and certainly Disney. It's been improving for them as well. And I don't think
Yeah,
that next year you're going to hear much about people saying that they don't need to work.
because unemployment's run out for a lot of people.
Well, and with the inflation and
Inflation is a whole.
increasing the borrowing rate, and chances of a recession, even if it's a minor one, it's
Mhm.
going to have an impact on workers, families.
Yeah. Well. So I asked you guys about your biggest memory this year. Mine was not in the parks. Mine was actually on a Disney cruise.
Oh, I have it on my list.
Yeah, it was. John was on that cruise. It was Lou Mangello's WDW radio cruise, which was the Marvel Day at Sea cruise,
It was fantastic.
and all three of us were there. A lot of you were there with your family. John, you were there with Kelly. I was there with Michelle, and that was one of the best cruises I've ever been on, because it was a very empty ship. There were only 900 of us, and that included staff too, didn't it?
I thought it was around 900 guests.
Oh, okay. Might have been.
Still, I had never seen that before, and it doesn't look like I'll ever see it again. I certainly don't want to have to see it again.
Yeah, I know.
And we had 2 stops at Castaway Cay.
Mm-hmm. That was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Two cruises that I did in 2022. One of them was, a third of the capacity. The other cruise was sold out. There was not a cabin to be had. So it's gone back to normal.
Well, one was on the Wish.
Yeah.
Which happens to be the most popular ship right now in terms of guests wanting to book, because it's the newest ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the park, I don't think there's anything that stands out by itself for me this year. But with few exceptions, almost every time I went, I really loved being in the parks for however long I was there, whether it was for it wasn't 5 minutes, whether it was for a couple of hours or a few hours. I did spend a couple of full days in the park. Once my brother was here, we spent the full day. If my daughter comes down, we spend the full day in the park with her, whichever park she decides to go to. But other than that, I really don't spend a full day. So while I can't pick out any one particular experience, I can say they're all a little different from the other, but they're all wonderful for the most part. There were a couple of times I went. There was one time I went, I couldn't get past Main Street because it was so crowded. That was in February of this year. That I was there with Darlene and Michelle. That was a little difficult because the crowds were just, it was like Christmas time in the parks.
What
It was
time of day?
so crowded.
Was that during Princess?
I'm sorry?
Was that during Princess weekend?
No.
Goodness. Or was that President's weekend? Well,
no, it wasn't President's weekend. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was. I'm trying to think. I think it was a week or two after the cruise. It might have been a week before the cruise. I don't know. I just don't remember. But because all my trips, like except for that one, like just get jumbled, and I'm not going to keep remembering exact dates. But I just remember we could not get past Main Street. We got down to Casey's, and it was just like wall-to-wall people. And we said, "That's it. We're done. Out of here." But other than that, like I've been in the parks where it's been really crowded and had a great time because you know what? I go there to do one or two things. I get those things done, and I leave. Or I'm there to just walk around. I'm not even there to go on any attractions or see any shows. I love those days just to be able to walk around and just take things in, whether it's people watching, window watching. It's for me, that's enjoyable. And getting on an attraction, I like that too. But sometimes I don't need it.
Yeah, like you say, yours is a very different.
Right. It's a different experience. Living here. Yeah. Living here is different from not living here. I know when we used to travel down here, it's like I wanted to do anything and everything in the 7 or 10 days, whatever it was we were spending here. And we were able to get most things in because we just plan, what do they call that? Oh God. What's the term they use for it?
Touring plan.
Combat.
Oh.
Commando.
That's it. Commando touring. And you were able to do it, but that was pre-Genie Plus. Now, I know if I were living outside of Florida and I traveled here, I would not go into the parks without purchasing Genie Plus. Just wouldn't do it. And even then, you might have to alter your plans from time. You have to have a plan B, C, and D even with Genie Plus. Yeah, so that was it for me. Any other experiences you guys have had this year in the parks or at a Disney, on a Disney vacation, maybe not a Disney park vacation or something else, or an event you went to that was memorable that you want to bring up?
I was of course thrilled with the return of Run Disney. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I only did the 5K this year because I'm still not quite back at 100% as far as my foot is concerned, but um, just I mean, I just standing out there and waiting for my corral to be released was almost emotional because it'd been so long since the
Yeah.
last Run Disney. And I was at the last one. I was at the last one right before the pandemic was Princess in 2020. Uh, and then to be back months later, years later, actually, at Wine and Dine 5K it was just fantastic.
Even though it rained
Oh yeah.
and it was cold and rained.
Well, it was fine. I was okay for the 5K. The 10K and a half, I was under the blankets.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't go on the 5K. The 10K was the worst for me between the 10K and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So no, I had friends that were out there for the 10K and a half, and they tried to talk me. They tried to coax me out of bed.
Hmm.
No, I'm enjoying this 5K lifestyle. This I only got to get up one day out of the three, and I
So
still get a medal. That's good stuff.
that is good stuff. How about you, John? Anything else?
Well, the things that were I I hadn't thought about things as being, what was memorable to me. I certainly was thinking about things that were, new or different. One of the things that I still don't know what to think about, at least personally, is the Galactic Star Cruiser. And I hear I would love to experience it, but I'm not willing at this point to make the trade-off of doing that for 2 days versus going on a Disney cruise for 5, 6, or 7 days.
Yeah.
So I just I don't know what to think about it, but the practical result of it is I'm not going on the Galactic Star Cruiser anytime soon, even with the DVC 35% off that they've given us lately.
I'd have to win the lottery to go to the Galactic Star Cruiser at this point in my life.
I don't even justify me going. Like John said, it is the difference between a 5 night Disney cruise or 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. And I don't think it's going to be the last boutique resort they build. I think we'll see others, because I do believe this has been a success for them. It's
Yeah.
if you look at the dates for next year, even that are sold out, there's quite a few.
There's certainly a lot to be said about the active experience, but I get enough out of a more passive experience
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not willing to make the trade-off.
Yeah, I agree.
I want some level of volume, and the experience level within that volume can be less than what you get with that of the Star Cruiser, and
Yeah.
that's what I choose.
You
Except for
know,
Run Disney, that's a very active involvement.
Lottie, you made a good point too. The cost as opposed to a cruise, and on a cruise, you get to relax, you get to do things at your own pace. You're not shuffled around where if like, I'm very shy when I'm in an unfamiliar situation. I'm very shy, and to the point where it's like I'll just like shut up and go in a corner and I'll hide behind a lamp if I could. And I know with a Star Cruiser, you've got to be on your game because you're pushed into things, all these interactive events, and I don't know how I'd handle it, quite honestly.
Mm.
Wasn't made for us introverts, Stuart.
No.
Yeah, you certainly won't get the value out of it if you play it that way.
Yeah. Right. Right. So is the cost worth it for me? No.
And then the question is Disney going to be able to get enough guests and enough return business that
Mhm.
want that? My thought is that they're probably starting to get through the bulk of the Disney fans that really crave that. And it certainly doesn't need the level of guest volume going through it that the parks do,
Right.
but that's a really tight
Mhm.
margin, I think. And so there have been the discounts offered, like I said, for DVC, and it'll be interesting to see, was that just to help fill a couple rooms here and there,
Yeah.
or it'll be interesting to see if they start offering incentives more broadly.
I,
So
yeah, go ahead.
so I don't know anybody I don't know personally know anybody that's gone, but I've also not heard anybody talk about repeat trips. Is the experience the same? Is it the same script? Is it like, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy, you could get any number of songs. So, the writability is definitely there, but is that the same for Star Cruiser?
I think Becky, who is the CEO and founder of Mass Fan Travel, I think she's been there a couple of times. And I just don't recall what she said. I think there was some repeatability, but I think there are some differences. I just don't recall. And I
Mm,
don't want to guess and say she said that.
I think they're going to have to change the script over time.
Hmm.
It's like any other attraction. You like going on an attraction over and over again, but certain if you were paying big money to go on an attraction, you wouldn't unless there was something more to
Right.
draw you back.
right.
So I think they're going to have to. If you go to the same experience, but you come at it from a different perspective, or you just happen to have different interactions with the cast members, different interactions with the characters. You could have a different experience even though the framework was the same. But
Yeah.
that's going to degrade over time if there's not a
Mm,
change to the platform.
I think as we get into 2024, um, I think we'll get a better idea of where it is in
Mm,
terms of profitability. And like I said, I think it will be a success because I do think they'll do things to keep people coming back or wanting to come back. And I think this is not the last boutique resort we're going to see there. I think there will be others.
Now, if they decide to do a Marvel one, then
Mm. That's probably next.
I may have to cough up a few coins for
uh,
it.
Yeah.
well,
I could definitely see them doing a Marvel one.
oh yeah, that's just the next natural one.
Hmm. Yep. Um, in terms of the parks, we've got the Tron attraction in Magic Kingdom, which I believe could have been ready for the 50th, but they stretched that out to next year because they need something new to entice people to continue to come back to the parks. Um, so that's something I think we have. I don't know if I'll ever ride it because, again, my motion sickness might just I'm at that age where roller coasters just don't throw me anymore.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's like I can do Runaway Railway, not Runaway Railway. Yeah, well, I can do that. I can do what is it? Big Thunder Mountain,
Yeah.
Splash Mountain, which is closing, and we're gonna get a new attraction.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Yep. Oh, that's cool. um, yeah, I could do a roller coaster like that, but I don't know if I could do Tron because it's especially with the loops, and it's just like no.
I think I'll be good with that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that, and it looks like I'll get a chance to try it out in April.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it'll be open previews probably in March sometime, and then virtual queues in April. So is there anything that besides I'm trying to think is probably number one on most people's list to see and do next year? Anything else you're looking forward to at Disney next year? We know they're doing the Walt Disney Company 100th anniversary. I don't expect much from that. It seems like they're doing more in Disneyland than they are here.
Merch. It's going to be so much merchandise.
Yeah. Yep.
Woody's Roundup.
That one.
Looking forward to that.
That was supposed to be open already.
Yeah, it was.
It's getting delayed.
It's open this coming next month, I think, right?
Is it? Oh, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah. D23 didn't give us much to look forward to at Disney World this past year. I'm hoping the next D23 event will give us more to look forward to. I believe it will. What that is, I don't know. But what I like about going to the parks is the different festivals at Epcot. And depending on the time of year you go, and it could be any park, things just change from visit to visit. So it could, and that's from week to week too. And it just makes it for a different and wonderful experience. Not, no two experiences in the same park are ever alike for me, which if that happens, then I got a problem. So I'm looking forward to that next year for a continuation of that. Now, which park was your favorite to visit in 2022?
I'm going to stick with Epcot. Even with the construction walls up, it's still my favorite place to be.
Yeah. How about you, John?
I would have to say Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom's my favorite park. Epcot's my second favorite park, but to me, there's just enough opportunities to do so many things. The place where the Magic Kingdom is lacking as compared to some of the other parks could be the food sometimes, but just overall, there's just so much to see, and the Magic Kingdom's not under construction. I agree. I still enjoy visiting Epcot, but and one of the things I look forward to next year is Moana: Journey of Water. When they get that world nature area open, I think that's going to add so much to Epcot. Open things up, make them more natural feeling, and just add a different dimension so that it's not the Epcot of 1982 certainly, but it gives Epcot multiple feels, and I like that sense of neighborhood to move around instead of just taking World Showcase and Future World and putting them next to each other.
Yeah. Now, for me, my favorite park this year, believe it or not, was Animal Kingdom. And it was just the tranquility of the park, the different sections and the differences between going from Africa to Asia to Pandora. I love the transitions from each section. And, just walking around, I found it to be, and I know we all, and I'm one who's done that too. You call it Africa hot or Animal Kingdom hot because it can get very hot there.
Yeah, where's Kurt when we need him?
But believe it or not, there's a lot of shaded areas in Animal Kingdom that you can escape to. And it's just, I find it the most peaceful of all the parks to visit because I can take my time and not rush from one area to the other and get to where I need to be on time and relax at the same time, which I don't know, that's strange, but I just found it to be very tranquil. And my second favorite park this year was Epcot, followed by Disney's Hollywood Studios, and my least favorite, and this is coming from a spoiled Disney fan, annual pass holder who lives down here, was Magic Kingdom. And it has nothing to do with the crowds. It's when you live down here, you have to drive to the transportation parking lot, park your car, walk a gazillion miles or catch a tram, then take a monorail or a boat to get to the park, then enter the park and deal with the crowds at that point.
That's why I'm really looking forward to April, because the 3 days before we get on the Disney Fantasy, we're spending at Bay Lake Tower.
Nice.
So I can stay in the park as late as I want to. I don't have to worry about, the crowds getting in my way to get to a bus or other transportation. I can walk over and I can walk back.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we've been bouncing around back here between 22 and 23. Before we get to 23 again, anything else you guys want to mention about 2022 that stands out that you haven't discussed?
I was waiting for Lottie. Well, there's something I'm looking forward to in 2023 that actually came back in 2022, but not at a time I could see it. And that's the
And
Walt Disney World Railroad.
yes, I've yet to go on the railroad.
Uh,
It came back when I was blocked out, but I will get there next year, early next year.
I'm curious to see if there are waits at the stations to get on the train.
I'm sure, like anything
Yeah.
else, there is, because it just came back, and it's not operating all day and all night.
Uh,
I think it's operating till 4 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not 100% sure of that.
Hmm.
No, Darlene mentioned it Darlene or just mentioned it on the news show that we did earlier in the week.
are they not running it during times that they're doing test runs of Tron Light Cycle?
It could very well be. I'm just not sure. I won't know more until I get there and get to see for myself.
Okay. No, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah. Yep. Although Darlene might be able to tell us next week, she spent all day today in Magic Kingdom. She's probably still there.
She's there. That's where she's on the railroad right now.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, anybody out there, if you don't know Darlene, you can look her up on Facebook. She will meet up with anybody anytime. All you've got to do is say, I'm coming down to Walt Disney World. Can you meet me in Epcot? She'll be there. She is the welcome wagon. She's going to kill me for saying that, but it's true. She meets up with anyone and everyone who wants to meet up there.
It is true. I ended up during the November trip changing my park reservation so we could catch up. She was willing to come down, but I didn't have park reservations for the day that she was going to be at Epcot, so
Yeah.
we switched it around and had a fantastic time at Eat to the Beat.
Nice. Yeah, I love the festivals that they have going on in Epcot. The music part of it too. I love watching the bands there. There's some bands that I get to see, even though it's a small snippet of their music because it's only 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to see Daughtry this year. I always wanted to see Daughtry. I finally got to see him.
Mm.
There are other bands that I've seen that I haven't seen in forever, like Sheila E. I saw her open for Neil Diamond like 100 years ago, and I got to see her perform in Epcot, and she has not, pardon the pun, but she has not lost a beat. She's still great.
Was she playing the drums?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She plays the drums. She runs around. I mean,
she's amazing.
The energy this woman has at her age is phenomenal.
We took the kids to a Sheila E. concert when she was here in Flint for the Jazz Festival. And I think Charlotte had to be like, she wasn't 2 months old yet. And it was an outdoor concert. And I just remember the kids dancing in the aisles. It was just great.
Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't realize she was older than me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say she's up there, but yeah, she's not a spring chicken.
I've never seen a woman play the drums like that before. It's just,
she's phenomenal.
She's phenomenal.
She is. Another great drummer, and probably very underrated drummer, is Max Weinberg, who plays for Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band. He is like
Bruce.
There's like Max is here. Sheila E is like maybe a half a step below him, and then there's everybody else like way down the ladder. I'm sure there are other good drummers too.
Yeah, I think the Rush fans would. I think there's a lot of fans that, but
yeah. For me, 2023. I know we've got Tron coming. Woody's, barbecue. I forgot the name of the restaurant, but that's coming. But outside of that, there's not a whole heck of a lot. We've got the Hatbox Ghost coming to
Yeah.
the Haunted Mansion.
When is that supposed to happen?
I think it's early in 2022, but I'm not sure. 2023 rather. Who is it? There's an attraction that's being. Oh yeah, Tower Terror is going to be shut down for a while in 2023. I think in February it goes down, and I don't know how long it's going to
Just
be
for an
down.
annual refurb.
Yeah.
Is Everest down right now still?
I don't know. I haven't kept up on that, honestly, because it's not an attraction that I really look to go to.
Yeah, I thought Everest was going to be down, and we already know Splash Mountain is going to be down. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
American Adventure is back up now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was down when I was there earlier in the month.
You know, it's going to be interesting to see how the crowds are next year. Will they continue? Will the reservation system continue? You know, there's a lot of questions that we don't have the answers for yet, and I'm not even going to speculate on what's going to happen on this episode.
Oh, and what's the replacement for Harmonious going to be?
Right, we don't know that yet either. We know it's going to be. What was the name of that show before Harmonious? That's coming back temporarily.
Oh, Reflections of
No, not Reflections.
Yeah,
It was
Epcot Forever.
It was right. So that's coming back. We know. What is it? Magic Kingdom is getting a new fireworks show in March.
Well, they're getting
a new version of Wishes, right?
No. I thought they were
Happily Ever After.
That's it. Happily Ever After.
Right.
And a new version of Happily Ever After. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure it'll be well received. You know, my hope is that those barges that are in the lagoon will be taken apart and moved out of there so we can get our sight lines back. I think the biggest mistake they made with Harmonious, I don't believe it was the music or the fireworks themselves. I think it was the angles of the show. You could only be in certain places around World Showcase, around Seven Seas Lagoon, to properly see the fireworks and the show. And if you weren't in one of those spots, you didn't get the full effect of the show.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Especially when they invested so much in the equipment to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the equipment was the biggest mistake. I just don't like the giant arm and the huge. It just.
Yeah. I think that could have worked if it were a giant sphere in the middle of the lagoon that you could see from all sides. But you know, it's easy for me to say that because you know we know it didn't work.
Well, and that was one of the challenges of Illuminations is the globe. It was not. I mean, you could see it from a lot of different angles, but because of its size, it was you couldn't see what was going on the globe very easily.
Well, you could, but you couldn't follow it all the way around because you're standing on one side.
Well, right, but the visual imagery on it was not as striking as the Harmonious is. Harmonious's imagery is bigger, and if you're in the right location, you can see it much better.
Yep, absolutely.
So it seems as if they tried to make it bigger, but in doing so, they lost things from an angle perspective, and then certainly impacted the sight lines when during the day.
You know, knowing Disney, whatever they do next, they'll knock it out of the park, and people are going to go, Harmonious what? What was that? I don't remember it.
Well, yeah. When do you remember seeing something that Disney spent so much time and effort working on go away so quickly?
Yeah, I know. I want. You know what I'd like to? I wish I was a fly on the wall to find out when they initially realized it wasn't going to go over with the audience. Was it early on into the development and it was just too late because they were already developing it? Was it after the show started and they were getting feedback? I would just like to know when exactly they knew its days were numbered.
Mm.
I think they made a gallant effort to put on a great show, and I think it could have succeeded and would have succeeded if the angles of the show could be displayed all around so everybody had a good view of it. And I think that was the challenge that they didn't meet. But we know Disney, they learn from their mistakes. They don't make the same mistake twice. They may not make us happy all the time, but they make things magical all the time. What do you think the crowds are going to be like as we go into 2024 and 2023 towards 2024? Excuse me.
It's going up.
Yeah. Do you think they'll continue at the levels they're at now?
Yep.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's going to be some time. I think it's going to be at least a year and a half before we start. Not a year and a half, year and a quarter. I'll say that, a year and a quarter before we see things possibly level off. But I think there are a lot of factors that go into that. Are we going to be in a recession? Is Disney going to make changes that will bring the crowds down and more manageable for them? Or, are we going to still have this reservation system?
Or will there be outside influences that cause people to take their money elsewhere?
Yeah, that could happen too.
We had this discussion on a show not too long ago.
We did.
And we did give our projections, and my projection was that
But a lot has changed since then. That was before Bob Iger came back.
I don't think Bob Iger is going to make that big of a change. Bob Iger's, as we discussed, his focus is going to be on getting a replacement. Somebody that is going to carry a vision forward that makes him comfortable. So it's not that he's not going to have any, impact, but it's not going to be his focus point.
So I agree and disagree with you. I do think his focus is on getting a replacement and getting
Disney streaming to profitability.
Yep.
Yeah. Listen, if you're listening, Bob Iger, I'm available.
We all are. I do think he will have an impact.
I think he'll have an impact, but I think there's going to be downward pressure on attendance sometime next year. That's what I'd said before, and I still think so.
I'm still not sure. But with Iger back, I honestly believe that the crowds in the park don't make a difference. You can go to a park where you could barely move, but if you can move, you can move around them and have a great day. I still believe that. I think the deciding factor is how you spend your time and where you spend your time in the parks. And I think Genie Plus, they still have a lot to figure out to make it work better. So the people who've paid $140 some odd dollars without getting Genie Plus and have to stand on a standby line for 2 or 3 hours are happy, and they'll come back. I think that's their biggest challenge right now. And I'm not talking about annual pass holders. I'm talking about the people that are buying tickets, coming on vacation, but they just, for whatever reason, don't want to get Genie Plus, whether it's finances or stubbornness, or whatever it is.
Stubbornness.
I think they have to find a way to appease those paying for it and appease those who are not paying for it, so everyone is happy. And that's hard. That's really hard because what I've seen, and this is just personally what I've seen, if 100 people come on the Genie Plus line and there are 300 people on the standby line, those 100 people on the Genie Plus line are going to get through a lot quicker than those 300 people. They're going to take 50. I'm exaggerating with the numbers here, but they're going to take a larger number of people and a very large number of people and continue to take them from the Genie Plus line before they take just a few from the standby line. I've seen that over and over again. And that's the challenge, because they have to say these people are paying extra to get through the attraction to keep their day moving. Well, these people haven't, but they've got to recognize that those people have paid a lot of money to get into the parks anyway.
Disney is not the only service provider and goods provider that continues to be popular and the people just keep flocking. I went to Chick-fil-A tonight to pick dinner up. I wanted to get one of the peppermint milkshakes before they were gone, and Kelly's under the weather today, so I didn't want to make dinner for just myself. I waited in a drive-through that slaked or went all around this parking lot till I finally got through. I waited I waited a half an hour in line till I finally got my food.
Wow.
Chick-fil-A is notorious for their lines. You know what I used to do? If I wanted to get fast food, whether it was Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, or Wendy's, or any place else, park my car, go in and order the food to go. It's a lot quicker than taking your car and waiting online.
I don't get there very often. It's not that close to my house. I can get to it often enough. So I made a mistake in not being prepared to do that. But I bought it online and said I'd go through the drive-through, so I had no choice but to go through it.
Right.
Yeah. But so there are people that are willing to endure hardships for what they want, and Disney is one of them.
Yeah, but you know what? Disney is held to a higher standard, and by their guests. So they have.
Then why do you think that the crowds are going to go up next year instead of have pressure on going down?
I still think there are people that haven't been to Disney yet that have been chomping at the bit to get back there. A lot of the Brazilians, they're first coming back now, but we haven't seen the school kids. They're going to come in June, July, August.
Certainly did talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I the Brits are here now, and though they're going to continue to keep coming. It's like we're first seeing the European markets or fans coming over here now again, because they hadn't been here for a long time. That's going to last a while. I just think the crowd levels, I don't want to say they're here to stay. I think they're here to stay for the foreseeable future, or for the near future. The near future being within the next couple of years. But I think there could be a lot of reasons why they could drop off that might not be in total control of Disney, or because of Disney that they drop off. There's a lot of variables that go into it. We'll see. They haven't brought back dining reservations yet. They haven't brought back.
No, you mean the dining plan? The
dining plan. I'm sorry, I meant the dining plan. Yeah, I think the dining plan will come back sometime next year. In what form, I don't know. But I'm not sure that either. I don't know the steps they're going to take to keep guest satisfaction up there, or to return it up there where it should be.
That's always been something that they use to incent people to come.
Yeah,
and it certainly affects satisfaction too. People like, or people love what they perceive to be free food.
Yeah, but they make a lot of money on the dining plan, because a lot of people do not use
all those credits. It's impressive.
Right. Yeah, they get a lot of credits.
Use all the credits. They get a higher rate for the resort rooms. Yeah.
That's right. You get rack rate if you go on the dining plan. Not dining plan. If you get free dining, you're paying rack rates for the room. Now, I didn't say free dining was going to come back. I just said the dining plan.
Well, right, but the dining plan, the real force behind the dining plan, though, is Disney's ability to leverage it to get people to buy packages.
Yeah. Something else that I see down here are the number of vacation homes that are already here and the ones that are being built. They're building hundreds upon hundreds of vacation homes down here. At some point, are they going to saturate the market? Or is it something that is needed because of the number of people that want to come to Disney but don't want to stay on property? Or want to just not just go to Disney, want to go to Universal, maybe even Legoland or SeaWorld?
I think the increase in rental homes is partially due to the fact that Disney just hasn't seemed to been able to
Yeah.
understand the larger family market or people traveling with multiple people or multiple kids.
Yeah, they're far
Um,
behind in that.
they are way behind on that. So families like mine, you've got kids that are not old enough to be in a separate room. We just don't have anywhere reasonable to stay on property.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's corporations that are building a lot of these mass developments of vacation homes because they see a profit there somewhere.
It is definitely.
And there is a need because, like you said, Disney is way behind on family of 5 or 6, having places that they can be comfortable and
Even
affordable.
even a family of 3 or 4, when you go on vacation, you don't necessarily wanna be in the same hotel space as your kids, but adults want privacy, and the kids, they don't wanna sleep 2, 3 to the bed, they want their own
Yeah,
space.
it's true.
Yeah,
It's
it's
true.
yeah.
Hey, look, you know what? My kids shared a bed when we went on vacation because that's we wanted to be on property. So you make sacrifices, but I think that was a different generation. The generations that we're seeing now, they don't want to make those same sacrifices. They want comfort.
They do. My kids, Ava and Charlotte share a room right now, so when we go on vacation, they don't wanna be together.
Mhm. Yeah,
They just don't. That's what they wanna break from is each other. They want their own space, and
I
we
got it.
can't.
Okay. I get it. And I think there is a need for it, but at some point, are those vacation homes going to oversaturate the market because there are
Mm,
so many of them being
so
built
many
down
of
here,
them.
and there are so many people that are continuing to move into this area, because they're Disney fans or the Universal fans. So you're seeing, a huge development of the entire Central Florida area,
Mm,
and that is going to keep the population of guests going to the parks up there as well.
mm.
It's not just people that are coming here on vacation. So, once we get through the first round or so of people returning to the parks or coming for the first time, I think the drop off won't be as great as some think because there are so many more people living down here going to the parks. It's we'll see what happens. I think Disney has a balancing act that they've got to perform, and they've got to figure out how to fine tune it to keep it running so they can keep that guest satisfaction level up there. Unfortunately, there were people in charge at some point that may not have cared as much as the people that are in charge there now. But I do believe the people in charge there now, yes, they want to make a profit, but they want to keep that guest satisfaction level up there too. And I think that's refreshing to see. Um, Anything else coming in 2023 that we haven't mentioned?
Did I see that Figment is coming as a meet and greet character?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I don't know if that's enough to excite me, honestly.
Well, it's
Look, I
you
love
know what
Figment.
though? It's those kinds of things that are a nice complement to the big attractions, the restaurants. Character interactions are
Yes.
huge.
You know what would excite me if they brought back Streetmosphere to Hollywood
Mhm.
Studios? That would excite me. I
Yeah.
loved watching the performers.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that, unfortunately, COVID took a lot of that away for a long time. And we've seen a lot of it return,
Mhm.
but we haven't seen everything return.
Oh yeah. I mean, when we had all of those new things coming to Epcot just a few years ago, and certainly things have changed since then, but that was true excitement. I agree with you. This year, I don't have near the excitement, for things to look forward as we did back then.
They're counting on Tron. They're counting on people who haven't yet been there to go to Guardians. But you know what? Come 2024, they've got to look at something else. And it's not, it doesn't always have to be a new show or a new attraction to get people excited. But they need to do things that will
Oh,
get
I
people
disagree. I
excited.
think it is.
Well, I didn't say it isn't. I just said it doesn't always have to be. I think there are
Well,
things they can do.
yeah. Well, with the level of crowds you're expecting, I think they need to have those new attractions. Well, it's a double-edged sword. They need the attractions to get the good distribution of the crowds or better distribution. But if that just amps people up in wanting to come too, it kind of feeds on itself as well. So
Yeah, I think it's a shame that some of the things that they had planned for the parks prior to COVID got cut because of COVID. That we're seeing a downscale or smaller scale of what they were going to do in Epcot because of that. There's some things that just aren't coming, like that pavilion, that interactive pavilion's not on the books for them to do anytime soon. That's a shame because that's a people eater. Maybe they'll revisit it going forward, maybe next year. I don't know, but I think there are things they can do. They can put some things in place in each park that could distribute the crowds a little bit differently without having a new attraction there.
mm,
But that doesn't mean a new attraction doesn't help. Of course it does.
yeah,
And things will always change because that's what Walt wanted, and that's how you make money. You change things to keep people coming back. All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we John, was there anything else you wanted to talk about tonight?
No, not I have. Oh, I'm sorry. There one thing that I forgot to mention that
Sure.
I was excited about in 2022, and I did get to experience was the return of Finding Nemo, and it was definitely an
Yeah, I forgot about that.
improved show.
I
know
love
you
that show.
enjoy it.
Yeah, finding I've always loved The Lion King, but the Nemo, the first version of Nemo was great, but I really love this new version of Finding Nemo.
Mhm.
I've seen it a few times already, and I can't see it enough. I mean, it's an incredible show. I'm glad The Lion King is back to its pre-COVID version. The Tumble Monkeys are great to watch. God, those guys are so talented. Great performers. Everyone in The Lion King, absolutely wonderful performers. I think the two best shows Disney has in all four parks are both in Animal Kingdom. And that's not to take anything away from Beauty and the Beast or any other shows they have. I just think Finding Nemo and The Lion King are just eons above everything else they're doing there. And the other shows are great in their own right. All right, Lottie, anything you want to mention or haven't mentioned that you wanted to?
Nope.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us. Look, I want everybody out there, I don't know how you plan on celebrating New Year's, but please, whatever you do, be safe, not just for yourself, be safe for all those around you. If you're going to be on the road, please drive defensively and carefully. And watch out for those who are idiots on the road. And hopefully you won't come across any of them. And I just hope everybody has a wonderful, safe, and a very happy New Year. See you 2022. Hello 2023. Until next time, bye-bye.
Have a fun and happy New Year, a safe, happy New Year, a safe New Year, and a joyous Kwanzaa to those who celebrate. See you real soon.
Well, we talked about how we had things to look forward to for Epcot a few years back. Well, I'm gonna return to something from Epcot for us looking forward, and that is we go on to the joy and through the tears. We go on to discover new frontiers. and I apologize for my flu-infected voice, but I hope to see you all next year as we all move on together. Good night.
Here we go again. It's almost like they don't want us to do a post show. I apologize to everybody out there who we're trying to stop recording. It just doesn't seem to be happening.
Well, this is the added bonus content.
It is. Oh, the yawning and stretching part.
Let me try this again. Nope. Wow. So this is a talk show issue. Hopefully they'll resolve this soon.
When was the last time you were able to?
Oh, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Excuse me.
Let's see. No. I hope you guys and your families have a great and wonderful new year. I'm going to have to just boot us all out of here like I've been doing.
All righty.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Out.